you doing? Scott from Scott's Bass Lessons again. Hope you're well. If you haven't checked out scottsbasslessons.com yet, do so straight after this lesson, because you're going to find dozens, in fact hours, of video lessons just like this. So I'm sure there'll be something to tickle your fancy. If you subscribe as well, I should say, to Scott's Bass Lessons newsletter, you'll also be sent exclusive subscriber-only videos that you can't find on YouTube. So make sure you get that done as well. The riff that you just heard, I put it together to highlight a couple of techniques that you could use in your own bass playing. And the main thing is the string skipping thing that I was using during it. Now I'm going to play it really slowly now, just so you can see exactly what's going on with my right hand and what string skipping is, if you're not familiar with it already. Basically, string skipping is where, well, for instance, on bass we normally place one string to the next, to the next, to the next, or up and down in that fashion. String skipping is where we're playing on two different strings with a string in between that isn't being used. And it's a little bit awkward to get your fingers around to start with if you haven't done this technique before. The riff was something like this. And it's that first part that I'm actually using the string skipping. It's on a B flat minor tone, well, it's a B flat dominant tonality, I should say. And the B flat dominant chord or chord tones are B flat, D, F, A flat, and B flat. So they're the notes that, you know, the primary notes of this chord. They're the meat and potato of this chord. So when you're making any bass line up over a chord, you need to know what notes are within that chord. For instance, a guitar player can just strum a chord. We need to do the same thing, but we don't want to strum it and play all the notes at the same time. We want to play the notes in a linear fashion, one at a time, but we still want to create the sound of that chord, and that's why we need to know our chord tones and our arpeggios. So when somebody says, hey, let's play a B flat groove, we know the notes within the B flat dominant chord, so we can apply that to our groove. So if we deconstruct this groove that I was playing, I'm just doing a hammer on to start with, which is from the flat 7 of the B flat to the B flat, so, and then I'm going right up to the flat 7. So this is where the string skipping of the right hand comes in. I'm having to leap over that A string. Now I am putting some ghost notes in, which we're going to talk about later, but for now let's just concentrate on the notes that I'm actually playing. So it's B flat to A flat to B flat, then I'm hitting the A flat, which is the flat 7, and then again flat 7 to root, and then I'm doing a little slide with my first finger up to the G, which is the 13th of the B flat dominant chord. Gives us that sound there. And it's that, you hear it all the time, it's such a cool sound. That's the note you're aiming for, but you need to just do a little slur into it. I'm just like sliding, it's really minute. Then I do it again. And then this bit, I'm doing another slide into the third. So here's another non-chordal note that I'm using, but I'm just using it as a passing tone to get to that major third of the B flat. So we'll go right from the start and then we'll just stop at this point so I can run it through with you. So that was the first bit. Second bit, here we go. So that's minor third, slide to that major third, and then I'm hitting the flat 7 again, and then back to that third. When you're learning anything like this, just loop things around. If you're finding it technically difficult, just loop it around until you know, it's not going to take long if you start looping it around until you get it just under your fingers. So there's the two bits, I'm just going to loop them round and round. Oops. Last time. Now I also did a fill as well, which was, I can't remember. That was the fill there. Now this is over a B flat minor pentatonic. So you're thinking, okay, well we're playing on a B flat dominant chord, which is a major. Why is he using a B flat minor pentatonic? And that's because this is how you get the bluesy sound. You superimpose the minor pentatonic on top of the dominant chord. So even though we play a B flat dominant, which is a major chord, it's got that major third in it, we can still use the minor pentatonic. Over that sound. You can even hear it there. Over the major chord. It gives it that tension, which is that blues sound. So let's see how we can fit that lick into the riff, okay? So 2, 3, 4. Here we go. So I'm starting it with that's still that hammer on, and then now this bit here, well actually I'm going to show you the B flat pentatonic first, B flat minor pentatonic. The B flat minor pentatonic is B flat, D flat, E flat, F, A flat, B flat, and then it carries on, B flat, D flat, E flat, and then it goes up to the F here, but I'm using this, and that note is called the blue note. Gives it that blues sound. And the lick it's just going down the blues scale. So we start on the little finger on the blue note. Now this blue note, it gives it that bluesy vibe, okay? We can add the flat 5 of the B flat minor pentatonic scale to give that flavour. So we're just going to hold with our little finger. I'm holding the first finger, the third finger and the fourth, and I just pull down. And I'm creating that just with one pluck. Pluck, pull off, pull off, pluck, one. Pull off again. So pluck, pull off, pull off, pluck, pull off. And then back over to the D flat. And again. And then I just go down the B flat minor pentatonic. So within the actual riff, it's that sound. So let's listen to the two parts of the riff with that fill. Now you will notice as well that I do add some dead notes in. I haven't up to this point. Dead notes are where they're like kind of sort of like percussive salt. You know, you use a little bit of them in between the groove, and it's really hard to get this down to start with. I can remember when I first started looking into it. The first time I heard it, I think it was, I'd heard it on a Jaco Pastorius DVD. It wasn't a DVD then, it was a tape I think that I got from the library. I'm a bit old school. And I'll just give you a demonstration of what this actually sounds like. So instead of that, with ghost notes, you get so I'm kind of, it's a tricky one, it really is. So I'm going to do this really slowly. So I'm hitting and then plucking. This is also I've heard people show the they talk about ghost notes just being plucks, but I actually use my hand actually going down on the strings as a ghost note as well. Up to speed. So you're really going to have to slow it down when you're trying to get them ghost notes in there, and make sure when you're doing them as well that you've got, when you're doing these ghost notes, it's easy to get strings ringing out that shouldn't be. I've always got my fingers kind of damp when I'm not playing any notes. I'm kind of dampening them with the majority of my fingers, or trying to at least, because if I just have one on there, there's a whole load of harmonics that might come out. So you've kind of got to, you know, you've got to mess around with this to get your own feel for it. But really, I'm holding all my 4 fingers over there. So now let's actually hear this in action over the backing track. Now if you want to download this backing track, if you're watching this on YouTube, the link is just below this video. Hit the link, it'll take you through to a page and you can download it from there. If you're watching this on scottsbasslessons.com, the link is right there under the video. So let's check it out. So hopefully there you can see how these dead notes that I'm using in between the notes of the riff just give it that, you know, a bit more of a funky quality to it. And when you're trying to do this, I really, you know, slow it down. The dead note thing, the ghost note thing, it's a hard thing to get down. But once you do get it down, you can use that in all your other grooves as well. And it just gives a lot, it just gives a bit more sort of like funk to it all. And also, as always, when you're playing these riffs, don't just learn the riff. I want you to think about how it fits over the chord you're playing on, how that relates to the chord, why it works. If you're constantly thinking about things like this, it means it's really easily transferable to other things that you play on. If you just learn this riff and you don't understand how it works over the chord, then you can't transfer that information to other grooves. And this is the best thing about bass and guitar. Transposing is super easy. You know, we've just been playing this riff in B flat minor, B flat dominant 7, sorry. If I wanted to play it in E flat, it's easy. I just use that same shape and just transfer that same shape up. And it's having knowledge like that that's really going to help you and mean you're just going to be more versatile as a bass player, because you'll be able to use the chordal knowledge that you've learned by analysing riffs like this and take it into any playing situation. It's not just funk. All this information is transferable to all different types of music. So really, really, you know, try and get to know this stuff. Also, when you're playing it, this riff, you know, experiment with different ways of plucking it with your right hand as well. You know, you could pluck it, or, you know, all that kind of thing. If you want to know what that is, I'm not slapping that, even though it sounds like slap. I'm just plucking the strings, and when with my index finger, I'm plucking, and And then with my thumb, I'm almost pulling away from the fretboard as well, and it gives a slap tight vibe. You know, all this, just experiment constantly and then try and take that into the other things, other riffs, different bands that you're playing with. Always try and transfer this information to stuff you're working with at this moment. Hopefully you've enjoyed this lesson. If you have, there's a like button right underneath this video. If you click it, I will love you forever. And other than that, I will see you soon. Take it easy and get in the shed.